All right, Bob, I have a question for you because I was thinking, I don't know this tidbit about you these days. And it's more a general question, but it's tying to what we're talking about in terms of nutrition bars and
Mm,
specifically protein bars.
mm.
Do you eat these?
Oh
And
my
just wondering
gosh.
what like, how do you fit them into your life, if
That's
at
a really
all?
good question, Dee. No, I love this. I think part of it, I will answer that question in a second, but I think part of it in my mind, I'm like, okay, are we talking about, like in my mind, I qualify a protein bar versus an energy bar, right?
Yep.
And I know not a
Mhm.
lot of people do this, but I try to educate my athletes too. I'm like, hey, like a bar is not a bar, right? So we talking, like for me, typically, if it has 12 grams of protein or more, it's kind of leaning into the protein bar versus more of an energy bar that is more carbohydrate dense or high in carbs, lower in protein. So, to your point, I'll qualify everything as a higher protein, right? So, a
Yeah.
protein bar, right? Yes, to be honest with you, I do. And I'm going to be a little biased, of course, right? Because as all of our listeners know, I do have a snack company. It's a metabolically efficient snack company, right? All around Snacko, shout out. But
Yep.
to that point, Dee, yes, I eat a lot of those because I make them, right?
Yeah.
But actually, I've been I've been R&Ding a new product, and I will tell you the name of it in a second. Because of that, I've been eating a copious amount of
Oh,
these because I mean,
okay.
you make stuff, you're like, okay, I need to taste test, I need to do like some subgroup testing and all that stuff. But no, I just came up with it's called Protein Krispies. So
Okay.
think of like Rice Krispies, but not Rice Krispies, the exact opposite, right? Low added sugars, high protein, that whole thing. So I've been eating a lot of those. But to your overall point, I do eat them as infrequently as I can. They are more my emergency ration, if you will. I do, here's the typical dietitian saying, I try to do as much through food, like real food as possible. Although I will argue, like the things I make for my snack company are real food because they're from real foods and they're not made kind of in a lab, right? Anyway, that said, long-winded answer of saying, yes, I do eat them, but I don't depend on them, right? It's not
Hmm.
like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I have this bar for today. I'll put some in my backpack if I'm on the go, absolutely. Like I'll have one or two in my car just in case. So it's kind of like my just in case, but I will say the new Protein Krispies product I just developed, it is, Dina, I'll send you some, by the way. It's like a it's like a dessert with 13 grams of protein, lower added sugar. Like it's like you want to eat it kind of a thing because
Okay.
it's literally real food, right? It's peanut butter, it's tapioca syrup, it's salt, pink Himalayan salt, cinnamon. What did I miss in there? Oh, protein puffs is which is a
Okay.
milk-based protein. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like there's no preservatives, there's no edits. So when I look at bars, which we'll get to in this episode, that's actually what I'm looking to minimize is a lot of those additives, preservatives,
Hmm.
added sugars. But that's just me. That's my thing,
Yeah.
right? I think we
Yeah.
all come from different places. Okay, so I feel like I should ask you the
Well,
same question. Do you?
first of all, I'll wait anxiously at my mailbox
Yeah,
for the little R&D, beta
that's right.
tester packet.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm similar. I mean, I will use, and I'm going to say protein bars in this case
Yeah.
too. Although there's time and place for the energy bars. But yeah, I mean, if I'm gone from my house, I usually am the dork with the little lunch bag in the
Oh
car
yeah, for
with
sure. For
snacks
sure.
and everything. And sometimes I'll throw an extra bar, protein bar in case the day ends up being longer away from home or travel situations. But yeah, I
Yeah.
like how you said I don't rely on them. And I think that's important as everyone's listening to this episode is thinking about your use of convenience foods like this. We certainly aren't, bashing use of these foods, but in our effort to, and our mission here as part of the, reason for this podcast is providing education so that you can support your health and performance. So talking about protein bars, Bob, I mean, it's like every week there's a new bar on the shelf
And
and
especially
we lose
these
count.
days, right? Have you noticed
Oh,
that, like with the advent of better manufacturing and all these ingredients, and there are places that will literally, Dina, I can go to this one place and say, here are the ingredients I want, make me a bar,
yeah.
right? I mean,
It's
it's
true.
it's
Yeah.
amazing
Hmm.
how available this is,
Yeah.
which just leads to confusion
Hmm.
with us
And
also. I don't know if you're, I mean, like you said, like I get confused every time I go somewhere or look online. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't seen that one before. And
oh
I
yeah.
almost feel like, remember, like back in the days, check, wasn't it so much easier keeping up with these kind of things?
Oh yeah. It was like
Yeah.
Power Bar, Cliff Bar, although
Yeah.
those weren't protein bars. I think
It
we
was,
had
yeah.
0 protein
We
bars like
didn't have any,
back
when
in
they,
the
if
day.
they did, they were like bodybuilder kind of metrics kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Oh
And
yeah.
you're
Like
like, oh
metrics.
my God,
Uh-huh.
this is chalk. This is, what is this? Right.
It is a fun thing to see the evolution of these food products. Bob, because there's still I shouldn't say still, but because, a lot of people have so many options, we wanted to pick today, like honing in on your choice of, let's call it protein bars. And for
Mhm.
today, we're going to talk about plant-based
Mhm.
protein bars. We picked a handful here. I think we have 4 on our list, and we're not doing some super detailed, comparison chart. Naturally, they're all very different from each
Mhm.
other. There's some commonality in terms of like, again, what is this protein bar, the level of protein, but we thought we'd kind of highlight some nuances or some things that may want to be more attentive to when you're choosing the bar, not exclusively go by price, for example,
Yeah.
or
And
the snazzy little marketing on the
yeah.
front of the package.
If you, since you mentioned that, Dee, I just have to bring this up because I've actually tried 2 on our list.
Okay.
And the first thing I love doing is like unmasking, right? So you look at the
Hmm.
label or whatever, the packaging, you're like, oh, okay. And then you open it up and you're like, oh, all right. It's just, a whole bunch of things, kind of mushed together or extruded through an extruder process. And I know, I feel like a lot of times as consumers, we're paying a lot more for the packaging than we are a lot of the ingredients because when you look
Hmm.
at some of these bars, you're like, oh, that's why it's in that packaging.
Yeah,
That's why
exactly.
it's not a see-through packaging kind of a thing, right? And does that matter? No, that's just, we're letting you all listeners, we're letting you kind of inside our brains and, some of the things we think about, some of the things we look for. But I do feel like in owning a snack company, I can attest to how much packaging actually costs. So it
Hmm.
is a significant portion of the cost that you will pay as a consumer, that we pay as consumers when we eat protein bars or energy bars. Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there. Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
know. Well, I wish we could impart flavor and palatability of
Mm,
each of these through our podcast medium, but
yes.
you've tried 2. I've tried all of these.
Oh,
One of
good.
them, the first one we might touch on here is one it's been a minute since I've had Nugo bars,
Okay.
but we'll step through these,
Yeah.
Bob, and just comment, and then maybe we'll put a little reference
Yeah. Yeah.
table for people who want a visual as an accessory to this podcast episode. We'll put that in the show notes to link to.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be cool because listeners, you're going to kind of see how both Dina and I go through this process, and we're going to have some differences and we'll have some similarities, right?
Yeah.
But yes, can I start with this?
Yes.
Okay. So just to let all listeners know, when I look at a bar or really anything with a label, I look at ingredients first, right? Now, in this case, because we are qualifying it being a protein bar, yes, I'll look at the grams of protein first just to make sure it has 12 or more, right? Because that's just my thing, right? I just want to make sure it has more than that. If it has less than that, then I'm not even thinking about it as a protein bar. But that aside, I go right to the ingredients, D, because
Yeah.
I tell you what, I literally maybe call it where I'm at in my, longevity, health span, 5th level of life. I'm really caring a lot more about ingredients and what they do for my body and my brain and to my body and my brain versus just macros. Okay. So that I feel I just wanted to get that out because I've shifted that from, like, if you would have talked to me 20 years ago, it would have been a little bit different message. Like, macros were important. And yes, I'm all about balancing blood sugar, improving metabolic efficiency. But I just wanted to state that because I look at ingredients first. So when I go to the New Go bars ingredients, and I think we chose the chocolate almond flavor specifically, so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at these ingredients. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of, for me, sugars, right? So there is cane sugar in the dark chocolates, which I don't know this because honestly, I've not tried Nugo, so I don't know what percent cacao that dark chocolate
Yeah.
is. but it has cane sugar. And then I see tapioca syrup, which is a sugar. Then I see agave syrup, right? So when I'm going through these, I'm like, okay, I'm just tabling that in the back of my brain, like, okay, I've got 3 sources of sugar already. Okay. Then I get to, you can, again, this is nitpicking, but listen, this is under the microscope. So that's what we're doing today, right?
Yeah.
I get to natural flavors, and there is no definition in natural flavors. In fact, our government doesn't impart that. So it can be most natural flavors are actual chemical based natural flavors. So it's not natural. It's not like a blueberry extract or something like that. So that is actually, I don't want to say a red flag for me. It's more of a cautionary yellow flag, like, okay, not quite sure what the natural flavor is. I will say, and this is just me, again, I think it's because of the snack company and everything, but soy lecithin, I'm sorry, people, you got to just know. That's such a cheaper version. Soy lecithin is it's actually extracted using chemical processes versus like a sunflower lecithin. So again, just kind of imparting what I've learned through my snack company. I want to say you. I try to stay away from soy lecithin and try to always choose a sunflower lecithin if there is a lecithin. And lecithin, what that does in a bar, it helps emulsify things, right? Kind of hold things together at certain points. So right away, I've got some beefs with this bar, D, and I haven't even tried this, right? I haven't even gotten the macros yet, right? I'm just like 3 types of sugar. We've got natural flavor. We've got soy lecithin. I'm not calling it good or bad. I'm just saying those are some warning signals for me, and I haven't even made it to the nutrition facts label yet. So now I'll pass the torch on to you.
Well, this is great because, and we didn't plan it this way, I'm still in the mode where I look at the label first, the nutrition facts or supplement facts, depending, first, and then ingredients. Because for me, if the added sugar on that label, I'm looking at protein content first, and then I look at carb and total sugar, and maybe fibers in there too. But if the added sugar is a certain threshold for me, I put it away regardless, because I'm looking for
threshold.
Protein bar, not a sugar bar.
Yeah. Do you have or does it kind of depend on what the other ingredient or the other?
I aim for like 5 or less, maybe for added sugar. I mean, ideally lower. Like if I'm looking at there's 6 bars on sale, I'll pick the one that's got maybe the lower added sugar. Okay. But I'm not freaking out if it's like, oh, there's 4 grams. But if it's like some of these here, and in this case, this bar has 13 grams of added sugar.
That's a lot, D.
That's a lot. That's a couple teaspoons. 2.5 teaspoons. And looking at the ingredients. So, the other thing, it does meet the criteria here, 12 grams of protein for this bar, a couple hundred calories, moderate fat content. There's 4 grams of saturated fat from the cocoa butter, and almonds obviously have some fat, right?
Yep.
But right there, like even though it's a controlled carb, higher protein bar because of the added sugar, this would be one I would not outright choose, if I had other options.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I just wanted to add to your added sugars comment. Did you know? Like I am super big on added sugars, right? Also, I have a little more lenient, I guess, criteria for them. 5 is great, but I tell you what, if you live in the United States, good luck, right? If you're eating something that's packaged, it's hard. It's really,
hard,
really
especially without having a whole bunch of synthetics,
exactly,
sugars,
or
sweeteners,
artificial sweeteners, or so you kind of have to balance that. But what I wanted to add was, like you said, this bar has 13 grams of added sugar, and you kind of reference that. That's 2 and 3 teaspoons.
Just about, yeah.
Teaspoons, yeah. So my point is this: the American Heart Association actually has recommendations for daily added sugar intake and it's gender specific, which is, I think it's pretty interesting. 24 grams for females, 36 grams for males.
Yeah.
So if you reference that, I think that's super important, because if you as a female, D, have a upper limit, if you will, of added sugars, or just the recommendation from the American Heart Association, which again, do with it what you want. I mean, this is more than half by eating this one bar, this 50-gram bar with 200 calories. 13 grams of, or 12 grams of protein, you just eaten half your day's added sugars.
Yeah.
So if you kind of that's what I like to look at too. I'm like, oh, okay. And that's why I referenced when I'm looking at those ingredients, I already picked out three different instances or ingredients that have sugar, which I could have guessed those added sugars anyway without even going to the nutrition facts label. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is interesting when we look at it that deep.
What about here, source of protein, as we're talking about these plant-based varieties?
Yeah.
This one having soy crisp and almonds and soy protein as the main contributors.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
I mean, personally, I love the contribution of different types of plant protein. So not just one, right? And that's from a bioavailable standpoint. I mean, your body's absorption rate. I just love that you're getting it from different, and it's not just, you're just not kind of beelining into one specific plant protein. So I enjoy, I think a lot of the bars you chose or we chose are kind of like that anyway, but that is one thing that I would highlight is just that the multiple source of plant protein sources.
Okay. Well, maybe we move to bar 2, IQ bars, and maybe follow the same process. Bob, walk us through ingredients that you're seeing.
Yeah, so I'm looking through ingredients and listen, first one, almonds. Okay, great. Second ingredient, protein blend, which, to your point, we've got pea protein with tapioca starch. So we've got, there's some natural flavors in there. There's also prebiotics from tapioca fiber, vegetable fiber, sparks my interest. Coconut oil, which is a saturated fat. So I'm expecting to see a little bit higher saturated fat. I haven't even looked at that yet. And then unsweetened chocolate, which is very bold of them. I really appreciate that. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, unsweetened chocolate, we're going to have lower added sugars. Okay, great. It's got cocoa. It's got cocoa butter, cinnamon. I mean, some spices in there. It has lion's mane, which I think is also kind of, a lot of bars these days have to look at differentiators in their ingredients. And this is one thing that the IQ bar has done, is use lion's mane. And if you look at what lion's mane can potentially do for cognitive functioning, and then the name of the bar, IQ, like it makes sense. Like they plan that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have many issues with the ingredients on this one, to be honest with you. I mean, there's some stevia in it. So again, right away, I'm like, probably not a lot of added sugars because they're going the stevia route. So from an ingredient standpoint, I'm my interest is piqued enough to purchase this bar. And in fact, I have purchased this bar and I enjoyed it. This is just me, right? But the protein crisps are interesting because like you have this soft bar and then you've got this weird chewy crisp thing.
Yeah.
It kind of works, but it just kind of messes with your brain a little bit while you're chewing it, right? That's my only feedback on that. But no, ingredients wise, I move on to the nutrition facts, which is a good thing in my mind.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and this bar has similar protein, same actually, 12 grams per bar, 180 calories, so a little less, and that's probably going to that added sugar a bit here. I mean, there is on the label 0 grams of added sugar. And you just kind of went through all of those ingredients.
Yeah.
And so, the fat content is a little higher. I am comparing a little bit from the previous bar. This one doesn't have as much added sugar. So the overall carb content of this bar is much lower at 9 grams, I think, versus the other one, which was, I think, 22 or so.
Yep.
Fat content is higher, as I mentioned. But yeah, I mean, this one is one that I personally put in my rotation for bars. And you're right, that little crisp feature of the bar, it definitely is, kind of inconsistent texture or part of the interesting texture.
Yeah.
But, the other thing here with the ingredient prebiotic blend, so there is a little hit of fiber with 7 grams.
7 grams of, I mean, that's decent, right? I mean, you're
decent.
like, wow, okay.
Yeah. So this bar, I think, is one that I would rank, on the higher end if we had to do a ranking system.
I definitely agree with you for sure. And I think, to the added sugars, like I really appreciate what they're doing with that. And yes, obviously they're using stevia. So be it what it may. Some people like stevia, some people don't. I totally get that. So maybe that's not your bar if you don't like stevia. But I do just want to comment that at least my taste preferences, which I do not, once, and we've talked about this in the past, once you become more metabolically efficient, you don't have a lot of sugar cravings. You don't really crave sweets that much anymore. So
Yeah.
you don't need really, really sweet things. And that's actually one thing I really appreciate about this bar is that I don't get that sugar rush. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
and you can kind of tell like the amount of stevia that they put in there is just the right amount because it doesn't give you that overly sweet flavor.
Yeah.
That is obviously my opinion and the way my taste preferences interpret this.
Okay. Cool, Bob. Well, we can move to our third one, True Bar. By the way, we're not talking about all the other flavors, but I will say this True Bar has so many flavors, and I have not even tapped into all of them, but I've tried
Oh,
a
really?
couple of these. But again, we are trying to keep the flavor of the ones we're talking about fairly consistent, like this chocolatey almond
Yeah.
theme. So, Bob, what are you seeing with this protein bar ingredient
Yep. Well,
list?
I've never had this, so let me just qualify. So I don't
Okay.
know what this tastes like. But looking at the ingredients, so we've got there's the tapioca blend. Tapioca has actually become a very popular ingredient for many different reasons. But it's interesting. It's also low FODMAP, so it helps
Yeah,
with people who kind of have those
true.
stomach issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the reason why I just on the side note of because I talked about my protein crispies, I started using brown rice syrup in there, but then I moved to tapioca syrup. One, because of color differences, tapioca syrup is typically a lot lighter, so you don't have to manipulate the color of your product, but also it is safer on the gut for some individuals. So just to throw that out there. So love the tapioca blend. We've got some fiber, some syrup. Again, thinking a little bit of sugar there. Okay, right. Cassava root flour. So we've got another probably good source of fiber in there. The protein blend I kind of like. It's brown rice protein with organic pea protein. And then we have almonds. So we've got different sources of protein, which I was mentioning before. It does have some organic cane sugar, but that's a little bit lower. I mean, it's probably like middle of the list. But so I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious. I actually, Dee, as I'm reading this, I haven't even looked at the nutrition facts yet. So I'm
Okay.
like in my mind, I'm painting a picture of wow, what are the added sugars going to be like?
Yeah.
It does have palm oil, which is sustainably sourced. This is a topic for a whole other conversation with us, but I'm not a big fan of palm oil for specific reasons. If it has some type of palm oil, I would rather it be palm kernel oil. I will
Mm.
not explain why on this episode. We
Okay.
can launch into that again, but it has something to do with omega 6s, linoleic acid, just to kind of give our listeners a little teaser for maybe an upcoming episode. But that said, I'm fine with palm oil. I just don't prefer it. And then we've got cocoa powder, salt, and sunflower lecithin. Remember what I said about the first bar, right?
Yeah. Yep.
There's our sun. So to me, and again, this is speaking as a snack producer, like I've been through the ringer on this. It is not difficult to swap a soy lecithin with a sunflower lecithin.
Okay.
So why companies are still using this chemical-based process with soy lecithin? It has to be, and I actually know this. It is a price point thing, right? So they're trying to establish a bigger profit margin. I get that, but come on, for consumers and stuff, come on, we have to do better, right? So I love that it has sunflower lecithin instead of soy lecithin. So huge thumbs up on that one. Now I'm actually going to look at the label and actually see if in my mind, oh yeah, it kind of matches up, right? It has less added sugars than yeah, okay, yeah. Like I'm looking at the label and you can describe this, but it matches. It
Yeah.
really matches what I was analyzing with the ingredients.
Totally. It's kind of
Yeah.
middle of the road in terms of the added sugar piece.
Yep.
You can see that that's kind of one of my first
Yep.
things to look
Yep.
at 5 grams with that cane sugar that's added. And to me, well, this could be another separate episode, like
Yeah.
organic cane sugar versus non-organic. If I'm choosing, well, anyways, we'll table
Yeah.
that comment, Bob. 5 grams of added sugar. So it's
Yeah.
low-ish.
Yeah.
Not zero, but low.
Yeah.
And 12 grams protein, same as the previous two, moderate on that carb side. Again, this is more of a protein bar profile where the
Hmm.
carb content isn't 50 grams, it's 22.
Yep.
So that kind of leveling out of the carb protein ratio. 12 grams of fiber, Bob.
That's an amazing amount of fiber to put in a bar.
So again, this
Honestly.
might for a protein bar, you may
Yeah.
not choose this kind of thing right before a hard workout
Yeah.
with that fiber load. And we weren't talking about workout nutrition anyways. 190 calories. So it's similar again in terms of the, energy density
Hmm.
as the others. But I think, as you've noted, like the mix of proteins, the lower added sugar content, and some of the other ingredients here, like that sunflower lecithin that you
Yeah.
noted. Um,
I, I
Decent,
I
right,
like I
Bob?
like what they're doing. Yeah. But
Yeah.
didn't you mention in some of it, like, and I'm reading in the homework that you did about this, you put this on our sheet to look at, GLP-1 friendly. What does that mean, D? Like,
Oh,
why would that be on there? Do you know?
yeah, that is interesting.
It
I
is. It caught
think,
my eye.
yeah, we're going to see a whole lot more of that kind of
Uh-huh.
marketing coming out. They're
Uh-huh.
staying on top of it by
Yep.
knowing that a lot of people on GLP-1s can only do small meals at a
Uh-huh.
time. We still want to keep protein moderate to high to preserve muscle and
Yep.
many other benefits. So they're capitalizing on this, I think, because we're also getting fiber.
Yeah.
It's a tasty, couple ounces of food to give
Yeah.
you a decent, again, nutritional impact. But of
Exactly.
course, remember we said we don't want to rely on these things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
However, a
yeah,
good tool for people who
for
are
sure.
dealing with those effects of
Yeah.
GLP.
I just thought it was interesting because it labels it's no gluten, no dairy, no soy, no seed oils, and then GLP-1 friendly. I'm like, oh, we are gonna start seeing that a lot more, aren't
Yeah.
we? Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think we'll. I kind of feel like we'll be talking about GLP-1s the entirety of the year,
Oh, yeah.
2026. But
Yeah.
something to keep in mind on, or our minds on, because in marketing, obviously we all know as consumers, marketing is really slick sometimes. Sometimes it's truthful. Sometimes I don't want to say it's not truthful. It just is getting to other messages in different ways. Is that
Yeah.
safe to say? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
By the way, Bob, just side comment, the ones we've been talking about in order have been going up in price per bar
Oh, okay. Okay.
based on the web, manufacturer
Gotcha.
website.
Okay.
Now I know you can get sales and all that jazz, but this last one, Aloha bars,
Yeah.
again, a plant-based protein bar. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Bob, for what you're noticing here on the
Yes.
ingredient
Well,
list.
and this is the second one I've actually tried fairly recently. And just from a taste perspective, what flavor are we looking at here? This is I
This
don't
is the
even, is it the
almond
chocolate
butter
almond bar?
cup or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the one I tried. I'm pretty sure. But taste wise, I was actually impressed. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this actually, okay, right? Okay, so let's get to the ingredients. First one's protein blend. So it has brown rice protein, pumpkin seed protein. Okay, that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? The combination. Then it has almond butter. Okay, we've got some fat. We've got some different type of protein with the almonds. Then we've got tapioca fiber. There's that tapioca again. We see the trend happening. Dark chocolate, again, I would love to know. That's just me, but I just love
Yeah.
to know what percent cacao I'm eating. But it does have some cane sugar in it. The chocolate does. So I'm like, okay, keep in mind. Then we have tapioca syrup, another sugar source and a binding component. Vegetable glycerin. Okay, I get why it's in there. Yes. Does it need to be in there? Probably not. It's an easy way for binding, right? But
Binding.
there's
Yeah.
probably other things food scientists can come up with. I'm not crazy about glycerin, but it's okay, right? It's one of those things. It's not a make or break for me. Almond flour, which I thought was interesting. Natural flavor. I've already
Mm,
commented on that. I'm like,
hmm.
do we really need natural flavor? I mean, we have natural flavor from the food. Then sea
Yeah.
salt, and then sunflower lecithin again. So
Yeah.
I would say this one, taste aside, I wouldn't expect a lot of added sugar. I mean, obviously I picked on the cane sugar and the tapioca syrup, but aside from that,
Yeah.
it doesn't show, in at least in the ingredients, that it doesn't show that it should have a lot of added sugars. It doesn't also prevent me from going to the nutrition facts label because it's passing most of my test in the ingredients. So I actually would progress to the nutrition facts. And lo and behold, I'm actually pretty impressed with most of the nutrition facts also.
Looking again at added sugar, 3
3 grams.
grams. Yeah.
Yeah. And no stevia, no sugar alcohols, no nothing like that. Like that's pretty
No.
impressive. Yeah.
So that's a light, addition of that cane sugar tapioca
Yep.
syrup contribution.
Yep.
Pretty darn light. And this one actually has a couple more grams of protein at 14.
Uh-huh.
Carb content in total is 24. So again, it's not a high carb bar by any means, but we were looking for the protein first and
Yes,
foremost
exactly.
in terms of this ranking of type of bar. And then again, fiber intake or fiber content is 10 grams. So along with the fat content of 11, which this is one where context matters. Like, is that a high fat bar for you? Well,
Right.
maybe a little bit higher in calories at 230 than the others. I think due to the quality and the mix of proteins, low added sugar, this is certainly a bar that I would recommend if we were wanting a plant-based protein bar or just a protein bar in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, for sure.
And I agree, taste-wise, and I've tried a lot of their flavors. It's one of my personal favorites.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that holds a lot of clout there. Nice. Love
Yeah.
it. And I would say this since we're talking about plant-based protein bars, right? Specifically, listeners, just to kind of help you out too, like you're going to see higher fat content, right? Because there's going to be there's
Yeah.
going to be nut butters. Like don't be
Yep.
scared of fat. And you're also
Right.
going to see more of a balance of fat. So unless it has coconut oil, it's not going to have a lot of saturated fats. It's going to have more mono. It's going to have more polyunsaturated fat. So even though like I would just say, don't look at just total fat, like look at where it's coming from. But remember, we need fat. Our cells need fat. Our brains need fat. We need fat for many different reasons. So don't be scared of it. But I feel like if we're talking about plant-based protein bars versus non-plant-based, you're going to see more fat. You're going to see more fiber, right? Because of those plant-based ingredients. And, typically I like the bars that we identified today because one did have stevia in it. The others did not. So you kind of have this interesting mix of what can be done with and without a stevia or a monk fruit versus like just cane sugar or tapioca syrup, right? So I think it gives our listeners a really good opportunity to look at these things objectively, but also not be scared of certain things like fat on a plant-based protein bar label.
Yeah.
Love it.
Good. Well, I would love to know from our listeners over in our Patreon community if these are bars you've tried, what's going on with your protein bar choice, questions that you have. Join us for free over there, patreon.com/ISN podcast, or get the app on your phone. It's super easy to find us. And always can opt to support the show, keep us free of sponsors for now by upgrading to one of our other membership levels. We love that, Bob, so much to hear from our listeners and just topics and even specifics like, oh, this bar you didn't talk about. What do you think of this one? Or how do I get Bob's new, protein crispy thing delivered ASAP?
Which we also have discounts for, right? Because we have a free membership in Patreon, but we also have 2 paid memberships because again, we don't take sponsors, right? We don't do that. So we do have a couple paid memberships, silver and gold, which literally a couple dollars a month, right? But part of that too is behind the scenes, what Dina and I are doing, experimenting with our thoughts on different things, some special content, but also some discounts on products such as, a lot of, or any of my products at All Around Snack Co. So, definitely head on over to Patreon, our community there, and just engage with us, but also maybe consider, if you want to add a little bit to the mix and be more supportive of the podcast and just be more engaged with Dina and I behind the scenes, maybe consider the silver or the gold membership.
All right, Bob, we will conclude this one and we can't wait for everyone to join us on our next episode. Thank you so much.